Somewhere under London in 1861, a man is loading a woman into a tube. She is wearing a crinoline. He is about to fire her at 30 miles an hour through a pressurized underground cannon. This is his job. By minute 7, you'll find out which Victorian royal climbed in next, and the single staircase detail that made £200,000 entirely pointless. You don't know his name. The records don't give you one. What they give you is a job title, a basement, and a set of instructions for operating something that had never existed before. A pressurized underground tube running from Euston to Holborn, built to fire canvas mail sacks beneath the streets of London. You are, on paper, a postal clerk. But stay with me, because by scene 8, this stops being about mail. Your mornings are unglamorous. You arrive before the post does. The air in the basement smells of brick dust and damp iron, a cold that sits in your chest differently from street cold, underground cold, pressurized and still. You check the valves. You check the seals. You stack the canvas sacks by the mouth of the iron tube, and you wait for the engine to breathe. The tube itself is 3 feet in diameter, wider than it sounds until you're crouching beside it. It runs beneath the city for over a mile, and somewhere at the other end, a man who is effectively you is doing the same checks, the same stacking, the same waiting. You have never met him. You communicate through pressure differentials. The mechanism is simple in principle and expensive in practice. A stationary steam engine drives a fan that pressurizes the tunnel behind the mail carriage, pushing it forward at speed. Reverse the fan, it pulls the carriage back. No driver needed. No horse. No rails in the traditional sense, just iron walls, cast iron wheels, and about 14 pounds per square inch of compressed London air doing the work. What you are managing, though you would not use these words, is a prototype. This isn't the first pneumatic system in London. In 1853, 8 years before you took this job, engineers had already run a 220-yard pneumatic link between the London Stock Exchange and the Electric Telegraph Company in Lothbury. Operators were shooting financial data through pressurized tubes before your tunnel even existed, the world's first automated financial data feed, powered by air. Stay with me, because the man who funded your job is about to become very interesting. And the man who chairs the board of your company, he's not an engineer, he's not a postal reformer, he is the 3rd Duke of Buckingham. His Grace is a close personal friend of Benjamin Disraeli, not a distant acquaintance, not a political ally in the abstract sense, a friend, the kind who appears in correspondence, who takes dinners, who moves in the same rooms as the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The Pneumatic Dispatch Company, your employer, the underground mail cannon you maintain daily, is a project with a direct line to the highest levels of Victorian political power. You are not aware of this. You are checking the seals. Also on the board, W.H. Smith, not the high street newsagent you're imagining, not yet, but the man who will become that. The same W.H. Smith, whose name will eventually appear on every railway bookstand in Britain, is currently a board-level investor in your tunnel. He believed in this. He put money into the pressurized iron tube you are standing next to. This was a serious financial proposition. You feel that in the weight of the infrastructure, the tunnel didn't come cheap. The cast iron lining alone was a significant engineering undertaking. The stations at each end, Eversholt Street at Euston, Holborn Viaduct at the other, were purpose-built, not improvised. There is capital behind this. Serious, aristocratic, politically connected capital. And then one afternoon, your supervisor tells you the day's schedule has changed. There are visitors, important visitors. The mail sacks are moved aside. The carriage is lined with something resembling a padded blanket. You are going to fire a person. The demonstrations begin in 1861 at the Battersea Test Section. Volunteers, genuine volunteers, not conscripted laborers, climb into the tube and let you seal them in. A blanket, a prayer maybe, and then the fan engages and they are gone, propelled through a pressurized iron cylinder at 30 miles an hour in the dark. They emerge at the other end shaken, thrilled, apparently unharmed. Your underground mail cannon is now a party trick for investors. Here's what's coming in the next 2 minutes, and it involves a woman in a crinoline, a French prince, and a duke who accidentally reshaped London forever. The woman goes first. She is unnamed in the records, which tells you something about 1861. She boards the carriage wearing a full Victorian crinoline, a dress supported by a cage of steel hoops that could span 4 feet at the hem. She is fired the entire length of the tunnel. She emerges, according to contemporary accounts, virtually unscathed, crinoline and all. But what happens next permanently changes the shape of the London Underground. Prince Napoleon boards shortly after. Son of Napoleon III, Emperor of France, the man is a visiting dignitary and he climbs into the tube anyway. You seal the hatch behind him. You can feel the vibration in the floor as the fan engages, a low thrum that travels through the brick and into your boots. 30 miles an hour, iron walls, total darkness. He survives. He seems pleased. Your company is now running investor demonstrations in an underground tunnel where the previous passenger was French royalty. The Pneumatic Dispatch Company has briefly become London's most exclusive and most terrifying attraction. There is no formal safety protocol. There are no refunds. But the tunnel has a problem that precedes any of this. Look at a map of what was eventually built, the operational route between Euston and Holborn. It doesn't go straight. It takes a detour down Tottenham Court Road, adding distance and complexity to a system whose efficiency depended entirely on directness. There is a reason for that dogleg. His name is the Duke of Bedford. The Duke of Bedford owned the land the direct route would have passed under. He refused permission, not a negotiation that collapsed, a refusal. The company had no legal mechanism to override him. So the tunnel bends. One aristocrat's stubbornness is physically inscribed in London's underground geography to this day. You didn't know this when you took the job. It's not your problem, but it is your daily commute. By 1865, the operational tunnel is running. You are moving mail. The system works in the narrow technical sense. The carriage moves fast. The pressure holds. The iron stays iron. There are no passenger incidents that make the papers. This is, on its own terms, a functioning pneumatic railway, the only one London will ever have for decades. You should feel pride. Instead, you feel your lower back. The staircases, both terminals are in basements. This seemed logical during construction. Underground tubes require underground stations, but the mail doesn't originate in basements. It comes from street level, and it goes to street level. Every single delivery cycle requires your team to carry heavy canvas mail sacks down into the basement at one end, load them, fire them, then carry them back up at the other end, by hand, upstairs. You do the arithmetic eventually, because you are not stupid, only underpaid. The carriage does its mile in minutes. The stairs take longer. The net time advantage of pneumatic mail delivery over a horse-drawn cart, once you factor in every staircase cycle, is effectively zero. You have spent your career maintaining a marvel of Victorian engineering that moves mail at exactly the same speed as a horse. 2 minutes left. Here's what £200,000 bought. Final accounting is brutal. £200,000 spent in 1865 money, a figure that represents serious aristocratic investment, political connections, board-level confidence from men like W.H. Smith and the Duke of Buckingham himself, an engineering triumph by any mechanical standard, a tunnel that bent to avoid a duke, a crinoline-wearing woman fired at 30 miles an hour in the dark, a French prince, a world first in automated data transmission, all of it. And then the post office, which eventually took over the operation, ran the numbers on staircase time. The system that was supposed to revolutionize urban mail delivery was decommissioned. The tunnel silted up. The cast iron stayed in the ground. The investors took their losses. The Duke of Buckingham returned to his correspondence with Disraeli. W.H. Smith opened more bookstands. Somewhere under London in 1861, a man loaded a woman into a tube. She was wearing a crinoline. He fired her at 30 miles an hour through a pressurized underground cannon. W.H. Smith paid for it. Prince Napoleon rode it. And the single mundane detail that made £200,000 and an entire underground railway pointless was a staircase. Tell me in the comments, what would you have fixed first?